What's up guys, today I'm reviewing The Favourite, a comedy film about two cousins who are battling out to be Queen Anne's favourite in almost every way you can possibly imagine. So like I said, it's a comedy. The comedy ranges from being good to being just bad and odd and weird. Sometimes it doesn't really fit in because sometimes it is trying to be farcical and funny and other times it's trying to be serious and dramatic. It's a really odd tonally mixed film, I would say. I would also say that the momentum of the film is pretty slow. It is a slow film. It doesn't really have any upbeat, fast-paced moments in there at all. That's not necessarily a negative, it's just a warning that this won't be for everyone. That being said, I did find it a little boring at times. It does drop in quality in certain areas. Not so much quality, but the interest levels dropped. This is also a historical film, but I think it's only loosely based on history. I don't know how accurate it is. In fact, I'm not even familiar with any of the characters or the history in which this is set. So, yeah, I can't talk about that so much. However, there is something I did notice, is that there's a lot of weird modern elements in there. So the way characters speak to each other, the language used, the mannerisms, certain movements and dancing, etc. It all feels like there's just modern elements thrown in there for mostly comedic purposes, I think. And these are some of the instances where it works really well, the comedy. The ending is a little abrupt. Not going to go into spoilers just yet, but the ending, it just kind of stops and it leaves things a little bit up for interpretation, and of course there is symbolism there. I don't think it takes a genius to work out what it's trying to say, but just be aware that it's not a clear-cut, this is what happens to the character's ending. So let's talk a bit more about the characters. The three leads, Rachel Weisz, Emma Stone and Olivia Colman, are brilliant. Each one of them is great. They all have clear, distinct personalities, motivations. I think Emma Stone nails the British accent. Olivia Colman is really good as Queen Anne. She does a good job of adjusting to all the mood swings and making it a multi-layered character who isn't just one note throughout. Sometimes she's childish, sometimes she's really angry and powerful and a bit of an authoritarian. Well, Rachel Weisz is way more independent and powerful, trying to run the country essentially. The problem is that out of them three characters, who are the only three main characters in the film, Emma Stone's the only one that's really likable, I think, because Queen Anne is an odd individual. She almost has like a childish element to her in that she's a bit of a brat at times. Then Rachel Weisz is way too moody to be all that engaging and likable. Not that she's a bad by any means, but it does mean you're focusing almost entirely on Emma Stone. She is technically the main character, but she's also kind of the main villain. Again, not going into spoilers. So it's odd how this particular character is the only likable one in there. But it means that whenever she's not on screen, you kind of happen to try and relate to these other characters who I just didn't like. But there are other characters in there who are side characters. A lot of them are stereotyped. The male characters are really represented poorly. And it makes a change because usually it's the women who are represented in such a way. So the male characters are sex obsessed, they're self obsessed, they're selfish, and a little bit idiotic. So yeah, I'd have liked it if they presented characters a bit better than that, but hey, it makes a good change. It's about time they actually switch things up a little in that regard. But yeah, outside of the three main characters, there's not a lot to say about anyone else because the whole focus of the film is on these three leads, so everyone else is a little stereotypical, they are a little one note. Nicholas Hoult is in there, he's probably the best of the additional characters in there. But again, he's not exactly playing a well-developed, fully rounded character in itself. So let's talk about the production, and I think this is where the film really shines, except for the acting. So the sets, the costume, brilliant. Really good attention to period detail. Everything looks gorgeous. The cinematography is really good. They've done a good job of setting the lighting, because it's all naturalistic lighting, it seems, for the most part. So everything's bright when there's windows there and during the day. Sharp, hard-hitting lighting. And then during the night time, it is all candlelit. It is moody. It is darker. And that's where some of the more darker elements of the film take place. So that's smartly done that they've done that. Sadly, like I said, the pacing's a little off. It is a slow film. It's not always that interesting. The comedy doesn't always work. It is dark comedy, so that's not going to be for everyone. Tonally, it is all over the place as well, because sometimes it's trying to be a farcical comedy, sometimes it's trying to be a serious historical drama. So yeah, it doesn't always mesh very well. And the comedy, by the way, it's not laugh out loud, it's not hysterical. There are a few moments that made me laugh, and there were a few moments that made me giggle, but nothing too much. And the comedy is kind of spread out throughout the film, it's not every couple of minutes or whatever. So, the favourite, I thought it was just okay. In fact, I'm a little disappointed by it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I think this is going to be a film that's for a very particular audience. So, yeah, if you like the three leads, I do recommend it for that. They are great. If you've just got a vague little interest in the story or the setting, you might like it that way on. But otherwise, I don't recommend it. It did win a bunch of Academy Awards, particularly for the acting of Olivia Colman. That's understandable. But yeah, it's just okay. I'm now going to go into spoilers, but before you go, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant Burton, or you can subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and leave a comment or feedback down below. Let me know what you thought of the favourite. Now I'm going into spoilers, so if you haven't seen the favourite, go watch it, come back, watch the rest of this, and until next time, thanks for watching. But, full spoilers now. So early on in the film, the Queen has something happen to her leg. I don't know what happened to her leg. I don't think it's ever actually stated this is what's wrong with her leg. And it's weird because she keeps going from one injury to another in regards to this leg. 1 minute she's in a wheelchair, the next she's just hobbling and limping around, and then all of a sudden she's on one crutch and then two crutches, and she's back to a wheelchair, then she's limping around. She's constantly changing just how serious her leg is. And I'm not sure if she's meant to be exaggerating it, I'm not sure if she's meant to be making it up a little bit for attention or whatever, but it's really odd, especially since it's never said what exactly is wrong with her. Maybe I've missed something, maybe it was said, maybe I just never heard it or something, I don't know. But in relation to this, later in the film, towards the end, the Queen has a stroke. And again, no one mentions it. In fact, it doesn't even look like anyone's even bothered about it. It's just like, oh, yeah, it's the Queen. No one even acknowledges it, no one pays any attention to it, and yet you can clearly see that she's had a stroke if you know what the signs of a stroke are. Her face is droopy on one side, she can't even lift her arm or leg on her own, she can barely walk or climb out of bed. Yeah, and it's really odd how no one pays it any attention. So it begs the question of why have it in there to begin with? It's not part of the story, it kind of adds something to the character in the end of the film, but yeah, why have it in there if you're not going to mention it, if you're not going to make it important or relevant? Although I will say Olivia Colman does do a good performance when she has the stroke. Although we don't actually see her have the stroke, it's always the aftermath. So this makes me think as well that there's a bunch of time jumps in here and I just didn't really notice that much. So let's talk about the ending itself. I said that it was up for interpretation, I said there was symbolism in there, so in my opinion, I think this ending suggests that Emma Stone finally realizes that she will always be subservient to the Queen, despite everything she's done to try and gain power and position. So I like the ending, I actually like the symbolism there, I like that she finally realizes despite everything she's done, it was all for nothing really. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about the favourite. I thought it was just alright, disappointing in places. But I do really like the performances of the three leads. And again, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, etc, etc, subscribe, yada yada yada, you know the drill. Thanks for watching.